Genshin Impact's patch 5.4 will have 5 stars people have been waiting ages for, but some people don't know who is best for them and don't want to waste their precious primogems. That's why in this video we'll go over Mizuki, Sigewinne, Wriothesley, and Furina's strengths, weaknesses, and pull value for your account. I'll cover how these characters work, as well as which characters they pair best with, since most 5 stars need other characters to really shine. Just know that Mizuki is a new character, so we need to fully test her, but with the information we have, we can still give her a proper evaluation. With that being said, if there's someone who you really want, then just go for them. This guide is designed to help you figure out what these characters can do well and what they struggle with. That way you can be best prepared to play them at their maximum potential. Make sure to like this video if it helped, and share it with anyone who may be wondering who to wish for, and let's get started. Now let's move on to Yumemizuki Mizuki, a name so nice you have to say it again. Mizuki is an on-field animo catalyst damage dealer that focuses on enhancing the damage of the swirl reaction. She has some unique aspects to her kit which include both damage and healing, so let's get into how she works before talking about if she's worth your primogems. Her elemental skill disables you from doing normal movement and attacks, and instead you'll automatically float forward and fire off a small homing animo projectile once every 0.5 seconds. Her skill will also increase your team's swirl damage based on a percentage of Mizuki's elemental mastery. Her elemental burst summons one of her little Baku friends and makes snacks appear on the field every 1.5 seconds. Touching the snack will trigger one of 2 effects. It will deal damage in a small AoE if the active character is above 70% HP, but if they're below 70% HP and they touch the snack, they will be healed instead. And if you don't touch the snack after some time, it will just explode and deal damage. The damage and healing of Mizuki's elemental burst is based on her elemental mastery, and if she is the active character, then she will receive double the healing from her elemental burst. Mizuki's passive ability will increase her skill duration when she causes a swirl, and her second and final ascension talent will increase her elemental mastery by 100 when a teammate hits an enemy with a pyro, hydro, cryo, or electro attack. Overall, Mizuki's playstyle is pretty comfy, since you just use your skill and then you don't have to do much else. You just automatically float around and automatically attack enemies for 10 seconds. But even if she does feel nice and easy to play, there's still a lot to consider before deciding to go for her. Mizuki has received a lot of criticism because she's a character that doesn't provide too much of anything unique, and a lot of people are wondering if she's even necessary in the game. And she's also a character that will be introduced in version 5.4 as a rate-up 5-star, and after that she's going to become a standard banner character, meaning that you can lose your 50-50 and get her sometime down the line from that. And if you also really want to get her, you can guarantee her from the Genshin Anniversary Character Celebration, where we get to choose a free 5-star character. And so the question becomes, is she worth getting now, or should you wait and get her in the future, or try not to get her at all? So let's see if Mizuki can make your dreams into a reality, or if she will be a nightmare for your primogems. It's time to give Mizuki a rating. Mizuki's personal damage is bad. Her personal damage is not very good at all because her talent scalings are very low, and her swirl damage buff is nice, but it's not enough to compete with many other damage dealers. So rather than trying to buff her damage and her elemental mastery, she'll get more value in a team that focuses on dealing more off-field damage rather than trying to buff her as an on-field character. Mizuki's support capability is okay. Mizuki is designed to be an on-field animo driver, and usually that is a really good thing for a lot of different teams, but she's not designed to be a true damage dealer. She's really designed to make other characters who already do good damage off-field just a little bit better with the extra damage from the swirl reaction. Unfortunately, we already have a character that does this, Sucrose, and she does it very well, and in a lot of teams and a lot of situations, she does it even better than Mizuki does. Unfortunately, this means that Mizuki is designed and acts a little bit more like a support, but she requires to be in the active character slot on field, and that means that you won't be able to use a more powerful damage dealer as your active on-field character, which will hurt your team's damage a lot, especially when you could use someone like Sucrose as a support for many of the stronger damage dealers out there. Mizuki's team flexibility is okay. Generally, anime characters have a lot of options when it comes to teams, but Mizuki is a little bit more limited. Since she doesn't attack in her elemental skill state, she cannot take advantage of characters like Xingqiu, Yelan, or Beidou, who require you to trigger normal attacks or hit with a normal attack respectively. This cuts down on her team building options quite a bit, but she can still work well with an Electro charge team with someone like Furina and Fischl, or an Aggravate team with Nihida or Fischl. She also can do okay in burning teams with Bennett, Xiangling, and Emily, but she doesn't really get any value out of Bennett's buff because her damage is based pretty much all off EM and you're not really building any attack on her, and the burning reaction also doesn't do that much damage to begin with, so this isn't as good of a team. Mizuki's free-to-play friendliness is okay. Mizuki is pretty easy to build, she just wants as much elemental mastery as possible, a viridescent 4-piece set, and that's it. She doesn't need any attack or crit, and she can use 4-star weapons like the Sacrificial Fragments or Favonius Codex, or any other free-to-play EM catalyst you might have lying around. She also doesn't need that many premium supports, but she doesn't have that many great free-to-play teams either. And for her signature weapon, while it's really nice, her damage is not that significant that you actually need to go for it, so the 4-star or even free-to-play 3-star options are actually still pretty good on her. Mizuki's overall value is okay. Mizuki is a decent character, but the biggest thing holding her back is that Sucrose exists. In pretty much every team that you'd use Mizuki, you can also use Sucrose with the exact same build, and Sucrose will often be a better choice for your team because of her EM sharing ability. And what's more is that Sucrose also works in more teams than Mizuki does, and when a 4-star character is better than a 5-star, that is definitely not good. If you do like Mizuki, you can go for her, but honestly, I would recommend you just wait until the Genshin anniversary and select her as your free 5-star then. That will happen in late August, which is quite a while away, but I don't recommend burning your primogems on her now. Since we've been getting a lot more difficult content, Mizuki is not really well equipped to handle that content, and she feels more like a step backwards. Good teammates for Mizuki include Furina, Fischl, Auroran, Nihida, as well as Emily, Bennett, and Xiangling in a burning team. And now on to the Melusine medic and bubble-blasting bunny of the sea, Sigewinne. Sigewinne is a bow-wielding hydro healer that has plenty of cuteness in her kit, but not too much else. Her normal attacks aren't anything special, but she does have a special charge shot that fires little heart bubbles. This is just for looks though, as the damage, speed of the attack, and size of the attack are extremely underwhelming. Sigewinne's main playstyle revolves around her elemental skill, which does several things. Her skill creates a bubble that bounces between enemies, dealing hydro damage based off her max HP, and healing all party members except Sigewinne herself. But after this bubble bounces 5 times, it will heal Sigewinne. This skill can be held to make the bubble larger for a slightly greater amount of healing and damage, but the hold duration is really long, and honestly, it's not worth using in most cases. However, the hold version of her skill can imprison small enemies like Hilichurls in a cute heart-shaped bubble, so you can finally pretend to be a Hydro Abyss Mage. But the larger bubble from her hold skill will get smaller as it bounces, and each enemy can only be imprisoned by the large bubble once. Sigewinne's skill also makes 2 source water droplets, which are the same orbs that Neuvillette and the Hydro Traveler make as well. When Sigewinne absorbs these orbs, she creates a small bond of life, and when she clears it, she recovers some energy. During Sigewinne's elemental burst, she pulls out a giant syringe from Lord knows where and copies Neuvillette's special charge attack. Her burst deals damage in front of her, and its damage is based off of her max HP. However, unlike Neuvillette's charge attack, Sigewinne's burst has a much shorter duration, but a much longer cooldown, and of course it costs energy to use. Sigewinne's passive talents give her increased healing based on the total bond of life of your entire team, and she has another passive talent that increases her hydro damage bonus slightly and gives your team a few instances of increased skill damage when she uses her elemental skill. So how good is this Nudibranch nurse? Is she just what the doctor ordered, or should she stay locked up in the Fortress of Meropide? It's time to give Sigewinne a rating. Sigewinne's personal damage is bad. Sigewinne is designed to be a healer first and foremost, and although her damage scales off her max HP like a lot of other really strong Hydro characters, the talent scaling for her is just so low that it makes her damage pretty much negligible. Sigewinne's support capability is good! Sigewinne can heal for massive amounts with her elemental skill, which makes her a super comfy healer. However, her Hydro application is not very good. She can take up lots of field time, and while her passives sound pretty good, they actually aren't that useful and they don't really increase your team's damage or provide anything really useful. And a lot of other 5-star healers bring a lot more utility than just healing, and this is the reason why Sigewinne gets a good rating instead of a great rating. Sigewinne's team flexibility is good. As a healer, Sigewinne can fit into pretty much any team, and the fact that she can heal for a lot with just her elemental skill means that she's going to be really comfy and very easy to use. But there's many other healers in the game that just offer a lot more than Sigewinne does, especially if those healers are limited 5 stars. And to be honest, Sigewinne doesn't really feel like a limited 5-star character. She feels more like a 4-star character that just happens to heal a ton. But for that reason alone, she still works in pretty much any team. Sigewinne's free-to-play friendliness is okay. She can hold a Favonius Warbow to help generate energy particles for your team, which can be very helpful. But everyone gets Barbara for free, and Barbara can hold a Favonius Codex or a Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers to either help your team with energy or give your active character a ton of attack. And while Sigewinne is a much better healer than Barbara and offers a cool little bubble mechanic to play around with, she's not better than our other limited 5-star Hydro healer, Kokomi. And since Sigewinne doesn't have good off-field Hydro application, and because her other utility is pretty weak, she is quite limited and her value for free-to-play players is quite low. Sigewinne's overall value is okay. She is a very comfy healer and does tons of healing with her elemental skill, which is her biggest advantage, but she doesn't offer enough, especially compared to the other 5-star healers we have already. This, coupled with the fact that she lacks good support capability outside of healing, makes Sigewinne a character that I only recommend wishing for if you really like her. Because if you just want a healer, there are much better 5 stars and even a lot better 4 stars available. Recommended teammates for Sigewinne include Furina, and other than that, you could use her just about anywhere you need a healer. Next on the list is Wriothesley, the cryo-punchy jailer with a name that took me way too long to learn how to pronounce. Wriothesley is an on-field cryo damage dealer that uses a catalyst, but really he uses 2 large gauntlets to pulverize enemies and turn them into combo food. Let's talk about Wriothesley's kit and then give him a rating. Wriothesley is an on-field cryo catalyst DPS who doles out punishment by punching enemies like combo food in Street Fighter. His elemental skill enhances the damage of his normal attacks, allowing you to punch them even harder, while sacrificing a little bit of HP with every hit in order to do so. His skill lasts for 10 seconds and has a 16-second cooldown, and it also disappears if you switch out, so you'll definitely want to maximize the time you have on field after using his elemental skill. His burst is a single attack that hits 5 times in an AoE in front of him, and like all Fontaine characters, Wriothesley sacrifices some of his HP to enhance his damage. When Wriothesley uses his enhanced normal attacks from his elemental skill, he'll sacrifice some of his health to do more damage, but he can recover it back with one of his Ascension passives. When his health is under 60%, he will gain a special ability that makes his next charged attack do 50% more damage, cost no stamina, and heal him for 30% of his max HP. You'll want to use this at the end of your rotation with Wriothesley because it has a 5-second cooldown and it's going to be very hard to consistently meet the HP threshold and timing requirements to use it twice. So it's best to use it at the end to recover the most HP for the next rotation. Overall, Wriothesley is pretty simple and his kit is actually very similar to Wanderer, but with the added Fontinian gimmick of losing and then gaining back HP. Just use his skill, then normal attacks, then use a charge attack to heal up at the end of his rotation, and either burst at the beginning or the end of your rotation for extra damage. So how good is Wriothesley overall? Will this warden arrest your primogems, or should he be locked up again? It's time to give Wriothesley a rating. Wriothesley's personal damage is good. His normal attack damage when enhanced by his skill is similar to Wanderer's with the added benefit that he can trigger the melt reaction for even more damage. Wriothesley, however, does not attack as fast as Wanderer or have the range or AoE, so there's a bit of balance there. And a major punch to the gut of his damage potential is his lack of AoE. Without his burst, Wriothesley is basically only going to be hitting one enemy at a time, so even weaker cryo characters can end up doing more damage than he can if they can deal AoE damage. For example, if you have a cryo character that only does 50% of the damage that Wriothesley does, but can hit multiple enemies at once, all you need is to hit 2 enemies and that character will be doing the same damage as Wriothesley. If you hit 3 enemies at once, they will be doing 50% more damage than him, and if you hit 4 enemies at once, then that character will end up doing 100% more damage than him. So while Wriothesley has the potential for very high damage, his lack of AoE is a big detriment. Wriothesley's support capability is bad. He is meant to be an on-field damage character, and if Wriothesley is not on field, then he does not contribute to the team. All of his passives enhance his own damage and no one else's, so you have to build a team totally around him if you want to make use of his ability. Wriothesley's team flexibility is okay. Wriothesley basically has 2 teams he can run, Freeze and Reverse Melt. Most people will likely have an easier time building Freeze teams, but Bennett and Xiangling or even Toma Nihida Burning Melt teams are still an option for him. And there's a variety of ways to build these different types of teams, so as long as you have some off-field Pyro or Hydro applicators, you'll be golden. Wriothesley's free-to-play friendliness is okay to good. His best team options will be Freeze and Reverse Melt, and luckily there are a variety of characters that make up those teams. For weapons, he really appreciates 5-star Catalyst just because they're giant stat sticks, but you can craft the Fontinian Catalyst, the Flowing Purity, which is a high base attack 4-star catalyst with attack percent substats, and it also increases elemental damage, which makes a pretty good 4-star offensive catalyst option if you don't have something like the Skyward Atlas or Lost Prayer of the Sacred Winds. Wriothesley's overall rating is good. He's a solid on-field cryo DPS that can hit hard, but one of his biggest downsides is that he's in competition with some already extremely strong damage dealers, and his lack of AoE potential surely doesn't help him. It's also important to consider that it's a lot harder to buff the damage of Freeze teams since they don't really want to run characters like Bennett, and using Bennett in Reverse Melt teams confines you in a circle that Wriothesley probably will not be able to stay in very long, as he has to get up close and personal with enemies that are often pretty spread out. However, if you like him already, you probably won't be overly disappointed with him, but if you're on the fence, I suggest wishing for someone else instead. Recommended teammates for Wriothesley include Bennett, Xiangling, Kazuha, Sucrose, Nihida, Jingqiu, Yelan, Layla, Shenhe, Shilonen, and any other character that works well in Freeze, Reverse Melt, or Burning Melt teams. And now it's time to cover the personality-shifting god of water and justice, who's basically just what happens if you make Fischl the queen of everything, Furina. Furina is a support character that is capable of dealing damage, healing your active character, and buffing your team's damage. But she will also drain your entire team's health. Furina's elemental skill has 2 forms. In the first form, she summons some little watery friends to deal damage based on her max HP. Her sea creature attendants will remain on field even if Furina switches out. They will also drain the HP of all party members to do more damage. The second form of Furina's skill summons a healing pet that does no damage and doesn't apply any hydro, but it does heal the on-field character for a sizable amount based on Furina's max HP. Just like Furina is prone to dramatic swings of emotion, your party's dramatic changes in HP are an integral part of her kit and also how she buffs the team. Furina's elemental burst does hydro damage in an AoE and gives your team bonuses whenever a party member's HP changes, whether it goes up or down. Furina gains fanfare stacks for the total percent change of your entire party during her elemental burst, which means that if a character loses 40% of their total HP, but then gains back 35% of their max HP, Furina gains 75 fanfare stacks. But if this exact same change in HP happens for your entire party instead of just one member, then Furina would gain 300 fanfare stacks instead, because her elemental burst counts the changes of all party members, not just one character. This is really nice because every point of fanfare you have increases your team's damage and healing bonus, so stacking up fanfare by losing or gaining HP quickly is not only a good idea to increase Furina's power, but also to increase the rest of your team's damage as well. This is also why having a healer with Furina is a big advantage, especially one that can heal the entire team with just the press of a button. So how good is Furina? Is the God of Justice a righteous use of your primogems, or is she irredeemable? It's time to give the Archon/Director Extraordinaire a rating. Furina's personal damage is good to great. Her personal damage is very solid, and it's based off her max HP, so she can deal a sizable amount of damage while also being relatively tanky. Her summon pets attack when she is not the active character, and they can be kept up indefinitely, and they do pretty much all of her damage. Just know that these pets will also drain your entire team's health to do more damage, making full party healers like Jean, Barbara, Baiju, and so forth really valuable. Anyone who can keep your team's HP topped off will keep Furina's personal damage high, but also increase your team's damage during Furina's elemental burst. Furina's support capability is great. Furina has decent hydro application, though not nearly as good as Xingqiu or Yelan, and not great particle generation either. However, she does have her hydro pets up constantly, as they have a 30-second duration but only a 20-second cooldown. So she gives you constant off-field hydro damage, which is very valuable, but also buffs your entire team based on the amount their HP yo-yos up and down. Just know that she will have fairly high energy requirements, and if you can't use her burst, then you won't be able to take advantage of her fanfare stacks to increase your team's overall damage. She can also provide healing in a pinch, but her healing only works on the active character, and this will be nice in the overworld, but you probably won't be using it that much in much more difficult content, like the upper floors of the Abyss. Furina's team flexibility is great. Furina will be a great character for a lot of teams, despite the fact that she kinda kills the entire team. But what's really exciting about Furina is that she can enable a lot of new teams and playstyles that are very different from typical teams we've had before. For example, Jean and Barbara are not widely used in really difficult content, but they might have a place with Furina teams, and Furina can actually be a really good support for a Noelle carry team because Furina can drain the team's HP, and then Noelle can heal it back up while also dealing damage. And as Furina drains your team's HP and Noelle heals your team's HP, you're just getting fanfare stacks that much faster and increasing your team's overall damage at the same time. And I really appreciate that Furina is a good enabler for a lot of characters that are loved but seldomly used. And of course she's good with a lot of Fontinian characters because many of them have mechanics that drain their own health and then restore it back, which makes it really easy to gain fanfare stacks. This is especially true with Neuvillette, who is even stronger with Furina in the team. Furina just works in so many different teams with so many different characters while also enabling less used characters to once again enjoy the spotlight. Furina's free-to-play friendliness is great. One of her best weapons, the Festering Desire, is an old event weapon that you can't get anymore, but she has another very nice free-to-play option in the Ferryman of Fleuve-Sand. And even though this pipe sword looks quite inelegant on her, it does work really well. She also works in a variety of teams and even makes it so characters like Barbara and Noelle could be desirable teammates. Because she works in a variety of teams with a ton of different 5 stars and 4 stars, and also has a good free-to-play weapon, Furina will be quite the free-to-play friendly character that will only increase in value as you obtain more character. Furina's overall rating is great. Furina is one of the best characters in the game. She's not a typical Hydro character, instead she's more like a team buffer and off-field damage dealer that just so happens to be blue. She will enable a lot of teams that aren't really used that often, and she doesn't need specific supports like Bennett. She's also got a good free-to-play weapon. And while Furina constantly draining everyone on your team's HP is actually pretty easy to get accustomed to, if you don't like the fact that she is constantly sapping everyone's health to deal more damage, then you probably won't like her no matter how good she is, because she will be doing that at every opportunity she gets. Recommended teammates for Furina include Nouvelette, Jean, Xinyan, Cloud Retainer, Barbara, Sigewinne, Charlotte, Baiju, Yao Yao, Xingqiu, Yolan, Nahida, Fischl, Noelle, Clarins, and just about any other team where you want a Hydro character and can have some sort of healer. And with the gradings finished, who should you wish for? Well, if it isn't apparent already, Furina! She is not only an incredibly strong damage dealer that works off-field, she's also a Hydro character, which is one of the most desired elements in the game, and even more so when that character can apply Hydro off-field. In addition to all those advantages, she can greatly buff your team's damage as well, while also enabling a lot of characters to be stronger and more useful than before. She's also very free-to-play friendly. She's also a great choice for newer players, because she will still be helpful for their accounts for a really long time, and even more so as they get more and more characters. For these reasons, Furina is my top choice for the character to wish for. Now your individual case might be a little bit different, and if you're still unsure who to wish for, you are welcome to come by my Twitch stream and ask who is best for you. You can tell me who you want or who you're considering, who you already have, and then I can give you recommendations on who would be best for you. If you'd like that, just come by my stream on Twitch. I stream daily in the mornings Eastern Standard Time, and you can find me live at twitch.tv/sharkheart. That's twitch.tv/SHARKH3ART. I hope this review has been helpful and clarified the value of certain characters for you. Please let me know which characters you're going for in the comments, and don't be afraid to stop by on Twitch and ask for my shark blessing. 50% of the time, it works 100% of the time. I love you, stay jawsome, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.